Hey guys, it's Dave Siltura here, and today I wanted to talk to you about using the accent that you grew up with. Now, just a little disclaimer, I am 100% Filipino. I have Filipino parents, I am in the Philippines right now, I was born and raised in the Philippines, and I'm loving it here. But yeah, I basically picked up this neutral American accent, or at least what sounds like one, on television, and Western films, media, etc., etc. So it's just a matter of exposure. Now, there is this general misconception that you need to sound American, or you need to sound British, or something along the lines of that. Basically, what you hear on television and film all the time. And personally, I think that it can't be further from the truth. Now, I'm saying this because personally I've had experience in this regard. I had a client before, and I was corresponding with this client through email. And what my client told me was basically, "Hey Dave, you have this very thick sounding American accent. Can you tone it down and make it sound more British, use this Oxford British thing?" And that's when it occurred to me that whatever sounds neutral to an American sounds foreign, or sounds like an accent to the British, and vice versa. And that's when I realized that just about every accent has its own particular use, depending on the target audience and who you're addressing. Let me give you another case. I got this job for a provincial radio spot that when I used this neutral American accent, my client basically told me, "Hey Dave, you sound too slang. Could you tone it down to sound more Filipino?" And that's when I used this Filipino English, which has its certain sound and certain texture. So even for some it might sound off-putting, but in that situation, I am a Filipino, and in that situation, it was a provincial radio spot in the Philippines addressing a Filipino audience. So that was a very, very appropriate time for me to use an accent that people were most familiar with. Because otherwise, it would sound too foreign or alienating to them. And what the client wanted was for me to be able to connect to the audience, sound like someone friendly from next door, etc., etc. And the same goes with the language that you grew up with. If you're using Filipino, or if you're using whatever language or where you're from, it allows you to connect to the audience within your local environment more. And that's just how I use my Filipino sounding English. And by extension, I also use this Filipino sounding English in real life. I don't talk to my friends like this in real life, even my English-speaking friends, because sometimes I get the idea that it's going to alienate them. Or basically, there was a time in high school that I used this in school all the time, and that was the fastest way for me to lose friends. And I just got into high school at that time. So even this native-sounding American accent, or neutral-sounding American accent, has its limitations. Sure, it opens a wide, vast market for, or an audience for me, a new clientele, but to use it in everyday life, conversationally, in a place where it's normally not used, aside from business transactions, etc., etc., aside from being in a corporate environment, it would be most appropriate to use the English accent that you were accustomed to. So that's just my 2 cents, and I hope you find this video useful.